It all started when his dad brought home the daughter of an old war buddy. He never expected to fall for her. What he expected even less was this. His absolute best friend was also secretly in love with her. In his past life, thanks to the scheming of that so-called best friend, he confessed. He confessed his feelings right before the huge college entrance exam. Her rejection was ice cold and took all of 30 minutes. As a result, his entire world shattered. He bombed the exam and his disappointed parents. They kicked him out, all while that friend played the part of the nice guy and smoothly became the family's perfect son-in-law. But when he opened his eyes, boom, a second chance. He was reborn back in the past. And even though that disastrous confession had just happened, he still had 30 minutes. 30 minutes before the college entrance exams started. This time, no more suffering. He was armed with the maxed-out experience and knowledge from his future. A complete spoiler guide to everything, and all he wanted now. To speedrun his way into Crown University, the best school in the entire country. To finally live a life without all the drama. With 30 minutes left, his non-biological older sister, Stella, came looking for him. "I'll just treat whatever you said yesterday as a joke," she said, her voice cold. "Focus on your exam now. In 2 months, I'll be waiting for you at Southwest University." He turned to look at Stella, a familiar, imposing sight. She was in her military uniform, her face as stoic and unreadable as ever. Tall, slender, and undeniably attractive. Seeing him stay silent, she frowned. And that was the only wake-up call he needed. He snapped back to reality. He immediately grabbed his pencil case and said, "Hey, exams are starting. Gotta go." Stella froze. She likely never expected the kid who used to cling to her. Like a lost puppy to just leave so decisively, but he didn't care about Stella's shocked expression anymore. He sprinted outside, hailed a cab, and took off. Straight to the exam center. He was done chasing after Stella forever. No way was he going to ruin his life again. This time, he was grabbing his second chance with both hands. For this exam, he was aiming for the absolute top. Get into a prestigious university and spread his wings to see the world. By the time he finished the last paper and walked out of the exam hall, the sun was already setting. Reporters were swarming the outside area. They were desperate to interview any stressed-out student they could find. He tried to push his way through the crowd, but a smartphone suddenly blocked him. "Hey, Dylan, rumor is you got brutally rejected after a confession yesterday. Did that ruin your exam today?" But before he could even answer, a figure appeared. Someone emerged from the crowd wearing a crisp white shirt and a short haircut. It was Trent. "Guys, please stop asking," Trent shouted. "Dylan just got rejected. Right before the exam. His mental state is terrible right now, and there it is." That classic hypocritical "I'm protecting my bro" act, the painful memories of his past life came flooding back to his mind. Every single tragedy he had suffered was basically sponsored by this so-called friend, the one who pushed him into confessing. That was Trent. The one who caused his parents to disown him was also Trent. Later, when he saw that smug face standing next to Stella, he finally understood it all. It all made sense. Trent's entire act was just because he wanted Stella too. Dylan's miserable past life was just a stepping stone for Trent's love story. Not on his watch, he shoves Trent, who's still acting, completely out of the way. He calmly faces the reporters. "There's nothing wrong with liking someone," he says smoothly, "and confessing definitely isn't a crime. But that trivial stuff doesn't affect me at all. I am 100% confident he aced this exam, thanks." In that moment, the golden hour sun shines down, casting his shadow long and heroic on the ground. He walks briskly towards his house. In his past life, he had dreamed of returning to this safe haven so many times. Finally, the dream was real. Suddenly, a familiar, loving voice rang out. He looks up and sees his dad, just as he remembers him, waiting. Standing under the big old locust tree near the school gate, but his dad's eyes. A flash of disappointment. "I heard everything you said to Stella yesterday." He sighed heavily. I didn't even dare to tell your mother. Stella is your sister, Dylan. Looking at that worried face, Dylan's heart ached. In his past life, that foolish confession made him the center of toxic gossip. His parents were dragged into a whirlpool of cruel public judgment. Their hair turned completely white overnight. Looking at that thin face as he walked beside him, he just wanted to run over and hug him. Dad, I confused my dependence on her with romantic love. From now on, I'll see Stella as my sister and nothing more. The gloomy cloud on his dad's face finally lifted a bit. The two of them pushed the gate open, only to see Stella already waiting there. His dad pats his shoulder and heads inside. The evening sun casts a soft glow on Stella's normally cold face. They stared at each other in total silence. After a long moment, Dylan finally takes the lead, smiling. Hey. My crazy rambling yesterday probably annoyed you. I wasn't thinking. I'm sincerely sorry. Please don't let it bother you. From now on, we're just going to be family forever. Hearing his calm explanation, a strange spark of annoyance flared up inside Stella's chest. Just yesterday, he was holding her hand, declaring his love. And yet overnight, his entire attitude had flipped 180 degrees. Had he really let go, or was this just a game of playing hard to get? Stella looked at him with that same lecturing gaze. It's good that you think that way. The college exam is an important turning point in your life. You need to focus on the right path. He just kept his smile and nodded. Stella then pulled out a brochure. She walks over and hands it to him. The cutoff score for Southwest University is always very high. You need to give it your absolute best to get into that dream school. Dylan looked down. In his hand was the admission poster for Southwest University. His smile hitched for a second, but he didn't say a word. In his past life, all of his efforts were just a desperate attempt to chase after Stella. That's why he chose Southwest U, located right next to her military base. The result, not only did he fail to get her, but he also ended up with a lifetime of misery. He fought too hard for this second chance. This time, he wanted to stay true to his own heart. Crown University was where he truly wanted to go, to study linguistics, his absolute passion all along. He dreamed of exploring diverse cultures, of experiencing the customs of different peoples. And he would write it all down so the world could finally understand and love his homeland. Watching Stella return to her room, he decided to keep his university switch a secret. After all, he figured they were going to lead separate lives from now on anyway. Deciding not to say anything more, he grabbed his books and went back to his room. He turned on the radio and began reviewing his notes, completely immersing himself. He dove into the field he actually cared about, not emerging until dinner time. It had been so long since he'd seen his whole family gathered around the table like this. In his past life, scandals had made him too ashamed to come home, forcing him to wander. He wandered like a stray. This was the exact scene he had always yearned for. The memory brought a lump to his throat. Villain, what's on your mind? Did you not do well on the test? His mom asked, adding an extra piece of egg. Into his bowl, he simply shook his head and smiled. No, Mom, I did really well. His mother immediately beamed. That's wonderful. Are you confident you'll get into Southwest? Your sister works near there. She can take good care of you. His mom still hadn't noticed the change in him. She continued, your dad and I are getting old. College is far from home and the coursework is heavy. You won't be able to visit often. Having your sister there puts our minds at ease. The words got stuck in his throat, but he still wasn't ready to drop the truth. I'll be 18 by the end of this summer, Mom. I'm going to learn how to take care of myself, don't worry. After dinner, he planned to help his mom with the dishes. But she shooed him away, telling him to shower and rest early. As he stepped out of the bathroom while drying his hair, he suddenly saw a familiar silhouette standing in the middle of the courtyard. Stella's voice rang out calmly. During dinner, it looked like you had something you wanted to say, right? His hand paused in his. Past life, he always followed Stella around like a little shadow while she was entirely focused on her career. All she wanted was to fulfill the mission of defending the border that Uncle Fan had left behind. She never bothered to look at the little brother trailing behind her. He never expected her to care this much about his feelings now. He offered a faint smile. It's nothing, I just suddenly thought about leaving home soon. It made me a bit nostalgic. Under the hazy moonlight, Stella looked at her little brother, who was still a head shorter than her. For some reason, she felt he had become distant, no longer as easy to read as before. He quietly looked at the twinkling stars in the night sky, thinking there probably wouldn't be many chances to enjoy this peace. He remembered a teacher once told him, after entering college, your hometown loses the concept of spring and autumn. Only winter and summer remain. The older you get, the fewer times you return home. The two of them fell into silence. A strained and eerie silence fell between them. Right then, their mom walked out. Stella, the matchmaker, just dropped by. She wants to introduce you to someone, Trent. He wants to set up a blind date with you. Why don't you meet him before you head back to the army and see how it goes? Hearing this, Stella immediately nodded in agreement. Sure, moms, you arrange it. Great, their mom laughed happily. I'll tell the matchmaker. I'll set up a meeting with Trent in the next day or two. I know that boy's character well. If you two get along, then it's decided. With him going back to the army, someone would be there to take care of his mom. After she left, he watched Stella, who was also getting ready to head inside. He remembered Trent's toxic, evil nature from his past life and simply couldn't keep quiet. He had to warn her. He said, Stella, Trent isn't as simple as he seems. You should be careful on your blind date tomorrow. But Stella just frowned at him. She turned to look at him, her voice stern. Dylan, you've really changed. Trent is your best friend. How can you say such things behind his back? And with that, she went into her room and slammed the door, leaving him stunned. It turned out, in his past life, he'd completely failed to see how much she trusted Trent. A sudden wave of helplessness washed over him. He was completely powerless. It seemed he was just worrying for nothing. Fine, whoever she ends up with is her business. It had nothing to do with him anymore. He quietly went back to his own room. He turned off the light and fell asleep, needing rest for the big exam tomorrow. The next morning, his alarm went off at exactly 7:30. He ate a quick breakfast. Then he double-checked his ID and pens before heading to the exam room. When he finally handed in his paper and walked out, his tense expression finally eased. He'd stayed up a little later to study last night, and it definitely paid off. This time, he was sure his results would be far beyond anyone's expectations. A confident smile marked the end of his grueling days of endless studying. The final bell rang, all subjects were finished, his decade of school was finally over. All that work condensed into those few exam papers. He slowly walked out, feeling free. Every burden was lifted, leaving him feeling light and completely relaxed for once. In a fantastic mood, he started heading back towards the village entrance. But the moment he stepped through the gates, he noticed everyone staring at him weirdly. He'd only taken a few steps when their malicious insults hit him like a physical blow. That's the Smith family's brat. Heard he tried to propose to his own sister. What a morally bankrupt degenerate. What university would ever accept him? His grandfather is so unlucky to have a shameless descendant like him. They must have buried their ancestors in the wrong spot. If he were my son, he'd be gone. He's got some thick skin, humiliating the entire Phoenix village like that. And he still has the nerve to show his face. Hearing those words, his body went cold. It felt like being plunged into a cellar of ice, a chilling, familiar feeling. He was being dragged right back into the nightmare of his past life. Back then, news of his confession had spread through the village in a single night. He was so ashamed he just wanted to dig a hole and hide, but it was too late. No one would believe his explanation. It even dragged his own parents into the mud. People cursed them, saying a foolish child was the parent's sin, his hands clenched into fists. He turned around, held his head high, and faced the gossiping crowd. "Listen up, everyone." His voice rang out, loud and clear for all to hear. "Stella and I are not blood related. There's nothing degenerate about it. Liking someone isn't a crime." He continued, "I was just young and naive, and I couldn't tell the difference between reliance and romantic love. I've thought it all through now, whoever Stella marries. In the future, I will give her my sincere blessing, but if you all continue to spread these malicious rumors behind our backs, don't blame me for calling the police. Defamation and slander are serious crimes. Having lived once before, he knew his rights. He knew that rumors only get worse when you stay silent. Running just makes it worse. This time, he was done running. The people around him were completely silenced by his fierce, righteous aura. The crowd went quiet. He walked briskly, heading straight home. The moment he walked in, his mom was carrying food out of the kitchen. "Everything's cooked, just waiting for your sister. Once she's back, we can eat. Go wash your hands." He took the plate from her and asked casually, "Where's Stella?" His mom smiled brightly. "Your sister finally came around. Her blind date with Trent is tomorrow, isn't it? She went to town to buy him a gift." He listened in silence, his heart completely unfazed. The only thing that truly surprised him was that Stella valued Trent so highly. This was a girl who kept to herself, who never really cared deeply about anyone, now going out of her way to pick out a gift. Just as the final dish was served, Stella came home. She was carrying several large and small shopping bags. He glanced over and saw a branded shirt, a bag, and a leather belt inside. "Oh my, Stella, why'd you buy so much?" their mom asked. "I bought some things for you and Dad too," Stella replied. "You've worked hard, so I wanted to get you gifts, you silly girl. You just started your job. You need to save money. We don't lack anything." He just listened to their conversation, not adding a single word. He quietly ate his favorite pork, then stood up and went to his room. As soon as he entered, a framed photo of him and Stella on the desk caught his eye. He slowly walked over, looking at the two people in the frame, smiling so brightly. The memories came flooding back. From the first day Stella entered this house, she had always been good to him. When he was 10 and got sick from playing in the rain, Stella used a warm towel to bring down his fever, staying up all night watching him. When he was 12 and bullied by older kids, Stella didn't hesitate to defend him. That was the first time an honor student like her had ever yelled at someone, and it was for him. At 15, he got lost in the woods behind the mountain while he was playing around. Stella panicked, searched for him all night, and carried him home on her back. But when Stella joined the army, their relationship grew distant, and now she was about to get married, starting a new life. He was heading to Crown University. These memories would fade away. He pushed down his emotions, pulling an old cardboard box from his closet, and packed every single souvenir he had of Stella inside, including their only photo together, a pencil case she gave him, and some childhood toys. He set the neatly packed box aside, planning to throw it all away in the morning. The next morning, he stepped out of his room holding the box, just as the door opposite his opened. Stella had changed out of her old military uniform, replacing it with a pristine, brand-new pink dress. She glanced at the box in his hands and asked calmly, "What are you taking outside?" "Just some old study materials and childhood toys," he replied coolly. "I'm going to donate them to the orphanage." Stella just nodded, not asking anything else. She walked straight to the front gate, but right before leaving, she turned and added, "Tell Mom for me. I won't be back for dinner." He just stood there, watching her leave. A silhouette leaves the courtyard. His gaze then falls upon a photo of them. It's placed right at the top of the box. His eyes narrow, a bitter smile on his lips. Clearly, Stella didn't care anymore, not to the point where she'd even remember this. She didn't recognize that the frame held the only photo they had ever taken. A moment later, he walks out to the street. He decisively throws the entire box away. That pile of memories is dumped into a roadside trash can. After breakfast, he boards a bus. His destination is town. He plans to buy some items to prepare for his new college life. He walks from one end of the city to the other, hitting countless bookstores along the way. And there it is, a detailed guidebook about Crown University. Next up, a trip to the mall. There he buys a new thermos and some necessities like a brand new wash basin. Finally, he passes by a pharmacy. He remembers his mom's coughing just last night. So he goes inside, buying her some vitamins and cough syrup. Looking down at the bulky bags in his hands, he starts to head for the bus station. Time to go back to the village, but as he passes a jewelry store, a loud voice echoes out. It's a salesgirl from inside. "This watch truly suits you perfectly, sir." Hearing that, his eyes instinctively flick toward the store, and he sees them, Stella and Trent. Their silhouettes are impossible to miss. He sees Stella gently holding Trent's hand. She's trying a luxurious new watch on his wrist, a perfect match. That's the only thought that crosses his mind in that moment, witnessing this scene. His heart doesn't feel a thing. He just casually looks away, ready to leave. But just then, Trent quickly wraps an arm around Stella's waist. The two of them walk right out of the store. "Oh, Dylan, what a coincidence." Dylan replies, his voice completely indifferent. "I just came to buy some supplies." Trent's face is pure smugness. He keeps on smiling and says, "Stella and I just had a successful blind date. We're practically getting married soon. You don't mind, do you?" As he speaks, he purposely starts flipping his hand back and forth. He's showing off that expensive watch on his wrist. Dylan doesn't even bother to look. He maintains his calm tone, saying, "Of course I don't mind, I have already decided to stay away from you two, so what you do is none of my business." Trent freezes on the spot, utterly shocked. He probably never expected this. He never expected such a cold reaction. This was going completely off script. He forces a stiff smile and deliberately says to the woman standing next to him, "Well, we'll be family soon anyway. Stella's brother is my brother." Stella looks at Trent gently, then gives a slight nod. Dylan just smiles. He doesn't say another word. Having survived his bitter past life, he knows. He fully understands Trent's true colors. He doesn't want to get tangled up with him. And he would certainly never consider this man a friend. The smile on Trent's face tightens. It becomes even more forced. "Stella and I still need to shop for a few more things. Why don't you tag along?" "No need. I'm done shopping, so I'll head back." He flatly refuses without a second of hesitation and immediately gets on the bus. On his way home, Stella stands perfectly still, staring at his fading back. Her eyes suddenly turn quiet, dark, and complex, but in the end, she stays silent. Once he gets home, he gives the vitamins and cough syrup to his mom. Then he quietly returns to his room. He sits at his desk and excitedly opens the book. The Crown University Guide. He starts reading, completely captivated. The rich school culture had him absorbed, reading so intently he didn't even notice it had gotten dark. Just then, a knock on the door. He got up to open it and saw Stella standing there. "I saw your light was still on. Why are you up?" "So late," he replied softly. "I'm about to go to bed." Delure observed him closely, then slightly furrowed her brows. She clearly felt his attitude toward her lately had become exceedingly cold. This sparked a strange, indescribable annoyance in her heart. She glanced around the room and noticed the familiar corner on his desk was now empty. "Where's the photo frame?" "The one you usually keep on your desk." He glanced back. A harmless lie immediately slipped out. "I sent it for repairs." For some unknown reason, after hearing his answer, the suffocating feeling in her chest eased. "Get some rest then, good night," and with that she turned back to her room. In his past life, he never dared to lie to Stella because she could always see right through him. But now she couldn't detect his lies at all. He smirked internally, closed the door, and fell asleep. For the next few days, besides reading, he quietly waited for his exam results. As for Stella, she left early and came home late every day, busy with her new romance with Trent. Life passed quietly until June 24th, the day college entrance exam scores were announced. Early that morning, he went to school to check his score. Just as he arrived at the gate, a white car abruptly pulled up. "Dylan, are you here?" "To check your scores, too." He was about to ignore it, but realized someone was calling his name. Turning around, a beautiful girl stepped out of the car. She smiled radiantly. He suddenly remembered it was Serena, a classmate of his. Serena's family background was incredibly prominent. She was a true heiress from a powerful family, but before this, they had never spoken more than a few sentences. He simply nodded a polite greeting. But Serena didn't mind his aloofness at all, walking right up. "Let's go, let's head in together." They walked into the teacher's office together. When he got his scorecard, even though he'd estimated his score beforehand, his chest still tightened with tension. His hands trembled slightly. Heart pounding as he opened it, his eyes glued to the final total score. The black and white numbers were perfectly clear. He scored 689. Every tense nerve finally relaxed. He had researched Crown University's cutoff scores for years, and they all hovered right around 670. With this score, Crown U was guaranteed. He thanked his teacher, Mr. Wang, and rushed out, eager to go home and share the good news with his parents. But he couldn't catch a cab. Luckily, Serena was heading the same way and offered him a ride. When the car stopped in front of his house, he stepped out just in time to see Stella and Trent walking from the courtyard, holding hands. He quickly averted his eyes, turning to thank Serena, who was in the driver's seat. Serena still had that bright smile. "Dylan, if you really want to thank me, come to my birthday party in 2 days." He gave a slight smile and nodded. The moment Serena drove away, Trent spoke up with a sarcastic tone. "Was that Serena? Are you two dating? She's famous for being a wealthy playgirl. A guy like you won't have a good ending with her." His eyebrows twitched, and just as he was about to fire back, Delaz's cold voice rang out. "Trent is right. The Serena family is not in their league. He should hang out with her less from now on. Besides, he was still young and needed to know his limits. He shouldn't go fooling around with those kinds of people." Hearing her lecture made him feel extremely annoyed. He was simply given a ride home by a classmate, and out of her mouth, it turned into fooling around. Why did Stella have the right to judge him like that? He looked straight into Stella's eyes, the words coming out of his mouth carrying a sudden coldness. "I'm an adult. Who I make friends with is my personal freedom. I'm a bit tired. I'm going inside." Saying that, he walked straight into the yard. Stella stood frozen, staring intensely at his retreating back, her expression incredibly heavy. It wasn't until Trent gently shook her that she finally snapped out of it. Dylan didn't care about her reaction anymore. After telling his parents his score that night, the next step was submitting his Averity preference form. To avoid being disturbed, he specifically chose a day when Stella wasn't home to go to the school library and use the computer. A few days after submitting his form, he returned to the library to return some books. On his way home, he just so happened to bump into Serena and her close friends. He was going to just say hi and leave, but Serena suddenly called out to him. "Dylan, want to go ice skating?" Before he could even answer, her friends chimed in, teasing that today was the birthday girl's special day. She wanted to go ice skating. And that's when he realized today was Serena's birthday. It would be rude to refuse now. So the entire group headed to the biggest ice rink in town. Seeing him standing awkwardly, Serena grabbed a pair of skates and walked right over. "Never skated before, don't be scared, I can teach you," he simply nodded. They changed their shoes and entered the rink, but to his utter surprise, he bumped into Stella and Trent there as well. He was briefly stunned. He never expected a serious person like Stella would come to a place like this. With Trent there, he greeted them naturally. Serena, standing next to him, quickly introduced herself. "Hello, I'm Serena," but Stella just gave Serena a freezing cold glare. She was about to say something, but then the rink's music suddenly blared. The people resting around them started gliding to the beat, and the atmosphere instantly became lively. Trent excitedly tried to pull Stella to the center of the rink, telling her, "It's starting." Hurry up, Stella had to swallow whatever she was going to say. She just passively skated along with Trent. Dylan watched them and gave a faint, mocking smile. As for Serena, she possessed a completely different kind of charm. Since it was his first time, he was still a bit scared, so he let Serena hold his hand, guiding him step by step. When you skate, bend your knees and right foot slightly. Move in a figure eight. Yes, exactly like that. Serena guided him while patiently pointing out things to watch out for. Under her instruction, he gradually got the hang of it and told her she could let go. He wanted to try skating forward on his own, but it turns out he had overestimated himself. He took 2 steps after letting go and instantly wobbled, about to crash right onto the ice. Luckily, Serena was quick and pulled him back in time. In that split second, their bodies pressed tightly together, their breaths mingling. He felt a bit flustered. Just as he was trying to stand up straight, his eyes caught a scene not far away. Trent had his hands wrapped right around Stella's waist. He leaned down. And planted a soft kiss on her lips. Time seemed to freeze. The crowd around them erupted in applause. Serena noticed Dylan looked pale and asked if he was scared, suggesting they rest. He simply nodded. They went to the rest area. Serena went for sodas, leaving him there. Alone, just then, a flirtatious, boldly dressed woman skated right over to him. "Hey, handsome, looking sad, want to hang out with me?" she asked, even trying to touch him. Thankfully, Serena returned just in time and stood protectively in front of him. "What do you think you're doing?" Seeing he had company, the woman huffed and skated away. Serena turned, about to ask how he was, but her skates slipped. Losing her balance, she fell straight into him. He instinctively reached out and caught her, his arms tight around her slender waist. Their bodies collided, even more intimate than before. He could feel her softness. His heart raced wildly before he could even steady himself. That's when Stella's furious voice boomed from behind. "What do you two think you're doing?" He and Serena quickly separated. Stella's eyes were like ice daggers, staring at them. "Dylan, hugging a girl in a public place like this. Do you know what you're doing? Have you any self-respect left? Come home with me right now." Stella reached out, ready to grab his arm. "Stellissa, you misunderstood. It was an accident." Just then, Trent, standing nearby, took a massive tumble onto the ice, groaning in pain. Stella's attention instantly shifted to Trent. She immediately squatted down, asking him frantically what had happened. Trent clutched his leg. "Someone bumped into me. I think my ankle is sprained." At those words, Stella frantically unlaced his skate. "Let me help you up. I'll take you to the hospital." Before leaving, she dropped just one sentence for him: "Go home by yourself." Dylan stood frozen in place, watching Trent look back at him with a triumphant gleam in his eyes. He instantly understood. Trent was just acting, and Stella was completely oblivious. This just confirmed a hard truth. In Stella's heart, Trent was always far more important than him. One second, she was screaming at him for getting too close to another girl. The next, she was ready to abandon him to tend to Trent, leaving him there with that strange woman. It seemed she really didn't care about him anymore. Back in his room, he felt so exhausted. He didn't want to move. As he was about to collapse onto his bed, he accidentally bumped the corner of his desk. His pencil holder tipped over and a paper rose fell out. He quietly stared at it, a wave of sadness washing over him. This was the rose Stella had folded for him. Back then, their relationship was still very close. He had seen a scene in a movie where a girl gives a boy flowers, so he had begged Stella to fold one for him. Stella was so annoyed by his pestering that she had no choice but to learn how to fold paper flowers from a guide, and finally gave him this rose. Back then, she looked so indulgent, gently rubbing his head. "Folded it for you, you're so annoying." Holding that little rose, the hidden feelings in his heart surged strongly. He had even naively thought Stella had feelings for him, too. Later, when he lost this rose, he was depressed for a long time. He'd planned to ask her to fold another one, but so many things happened after that. Seeing this rose again today, he actually felt Model, he felt an incredible sense of relief. Some things, once that peak moment passes, just lose all their meaning. He picked up the paper rose, tossing it straight into the trash can without a second thought. But just then, a man's voice called out from outside. "Is anyone home? Excuse me, is this Dylan's house? Is Dylan home?" Dylan jogged outside to see the postman parking his Phoenix bicycle right at the courtyard gate, holding an express envelope. "I'm Dylan," he said. "Is there a letter for me?" The postman just nodded and handed him the envelope. He eagerly tore it open, and inside, an admission letter for Crown University. A heavy weight finally lifted from his shoulders. Everything was finally settled in pure euphoria. That night he had the best sleep of his life. As soon as he opened his eyes, the smell of delicious food filled the air. As the family gathered to eat, Stella arrived home. His mom asked about Trent's condition. "He's fine," Stella replied calmly. "Everything's fine, just a minor sprain. I made sure he got home safe." Hearing her words, Dylan just kept his head down and ate, not saying a single word. At that exact moment, Stella spoke up again. "The military sent a letter. They want me to leave early and return to the unit. I'm leaving tomorrow." This news caught his parents a bit by surprise, but they nodded in agreement. His dad spoke first. "If it's a military order, you can't delay. You should pack your bags right after we eat." His mom added with a hint of regret, "It's just a shame your marriage plans probably can't be finalized right away." For some reason. Stella then subconsciously glanced over at Dylan, seeing him eating calmly without a trace of emotion. An indescribable sense of disappointment welled up right inside her heart. August or the end of the year is fine too. It's not too late. His parents thought for a moment before nodding in agreement. Stella then looked at him again and, as if possessed, she said, "Your admission letter should be arriving soon. Trent also applied to Southwest U. When the time comes, you two can just go together. Since you'll both be at Southwest U, you can support each other." "That's right. It would be great if you two could go together," his parents chimed in. Dylan was thinking about the Crown University admission letter he'd just received yesterday afternoon. He hesitated, wondering if he should spill the beans right then and there. His mom turned to Stella, instructing, "When Dylan gets to Southwest, you need to make sure you take good care of your brother. I'm really worried about him." Hearing this, Dylan swallowed the food in his mouth and ultimately decided to just stay silent. He didn't want his mom to worry so much that she'd lose sleep all night. He'd deal with it once he was there. At the dinner table, there were 4 people, but 3 completely different mindsets. The next morning, the entire family woke up early to see Stella off. Right before she left, Dylan offered a polite farewell, "Safe travels." Stella just nodded, looking at him with a strict gaze. "Serena is someone you can't truly understand. You need to be more careful from now on. College is just around the corner. You need to restrain yourself, focus completely on your studies, and don't you dare fall behind your peers. When you get to Southwest." Dylan just listened silently, neither arguing nor making any promises, but Stella kept staring at him as if she was waiting for confirmation. He had to give a reluctant nod. "I know, you should get going now." He really didn't want to say another word. Stella just opened the car door. Just as he was about to leave, Trent's voice called out from a distance as Stella rushed to support him. "Your legs still hurt. Why did you come out here?" "You're returning to base today. I had to see you off. I'm fine." The two of them shared a tearful, lingering goodbye. Tyler, on the other hand, turned and walked straight into the yard, not looking back even once. For some reason, Stella suddenly turned, her eyes fixed on his retreating figure. An unsettling feeling surged in her heart, breaking her focus. It felt as if she would never see him again. But she quickly brushed the thought aside, telling herself they would meet again once he enrolled at Southwest. Tyler exchanged a few final words with Trent, then hopped into the military jeep and drove away. The day flew by. That evening, he went to his room early. It was time to pack his luggage. Tomorrow, he would also leave this place for Crown U. He had thoroughly researched life in the capital and knew The winters there were absolutely freezing, so he packed extra warm clothes. Everything he needed was carefully placed into his suitcase. While cleaning out his desk, he stumbled upon two family photos tucked inside. One was from when he was very young, before Stella ever appeared, just the three of them. The other was taken with Stella 2 years ago. The family of three had become four. But he only picked up the photo of the three of them and put it in his suitcase. After packing, he washed up and went to bed early. He slept deeply that night, asleep without dreams. The next morning, while it was still dark, he left a letter in the living room and quietly left with his suitcase. The house was completely silent. His parents were still fast asleep. Before leaving, he looked back at their room one last time. 1,000 words in his heart condensed into a single thought: "Take care, Mom and Dad." Then he decisively walked out of the courtyard. 30 minutes later, he sat on a train hurtling toward the capital. His mind flashed back to the memory of being chased from his village in a past life, filled with humiliation. Like a rat, yelled at, beaten by everyone. On this journey, this life, he was determined not to make the same mistake. This time, he had to live for himself. Dawn began to break. He believed a bright future was definitely waiting. A loud whistle blew as the train lurched forward, starting to move. His eyes shone with boundless hope and ambition. The future was his. He was going to live better every single day, but since he woke up so early, he felt a bit sleepy. Drifting off, his head came to rest on someone's shoulder. He woke up instantly. When he turned to look, he saw an incredibly familiar face. "Serena, why are you here?" Serena just tilted her head, smiling. "You're awake." "I'm going to the capital too, just like you. What a coincidence." "I also got accepted into Crown U." Tyler was completely amazed. Serena just smiled and nodded, and just like that, the two of them headed toward Crown University together. Meanwhile, back home, his parents woke up as usual. They went to the kitchen to make breakfast. The bowls and chopsticks were set on the table, but their son still hadn't appeared. His mom wiped her hands, about to wake him, but found his bedroom door unlocked. She pushed it open, only to find all his personal items gone. The bed was neatly made. But Dylan was nowhere to be found. Completely bewildered, his mother spotted a letter sitting on his desk. She yelled out in a panic, "Mr. Smith, our son is gone." Hearing the shouts, his dad rushed over. "What's wrong?" "What do you mean he's gone?" He entered to see his wife handing him a letter. "I found this on his desk. You read better than me. Open it quickly." His dad saw the envelope addressed to both of them. He hastily tore it open, pulling out the note inside. He began to read, "Dad, Mom, when you read this, I'm already on a train to the capital. There's something I never told you. The truth is, I got an admission letter from Crown University, not Southwest University. Please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. But please don't worry too much. I promise I'll take care of myself. Once I'm settled at Crown, I will call you both immediately." It was signed Dylan. After reading it, utter shock washed over his dad's face. "Dylan, he went to Crown. He's probably on the train right now." The mother was stunned. Crown, not Southwest, but even Stella thought he was going to Southwest. "No, I have to call Stella right now." She was about to bolt out of the room, but her husband stopped her. "Dylan is already gone. Telling Stella now won't fix anything. The boy said he'll call us once he settles in. We can ask him everything then. It's not too late." His wife thought about it and had no choice but to agree. At that very moment, at the Southwest military base, Stella was acting as the head drill instructor for the elite squad, personally training the new recruits. Suddenly, she felt a sharp, tight pain in her chest, as if she had just lost something incredibly important. Stella furrowed her brows, an image of Dylan involuntarily flashing through her mind. She shook her head to calm herself. "Dylan is coming to Southwest. We'll see each other soon enough. How could I lose him?" she thought. She completely dismissed the idea of him going to Crown. Feeling reassured, Stella adjusted her focus and continued with the training. Afterwards, she went to town to buy a few things. She figured Dylan would be arriving soon and might lack some necessities, so she decided to grab some extra daily supplies for him. When she returned to her quarters carrying bags of groceries, she bumped into another soldier's wife from across the hall. Seeing the huge pile of stuff, the woman teased Captain Stella, buying so many household items. "Your husband must be coming to reunite with you soon, right?" Stella was stunned for a second, but she didn't deny it at all. In fact, an indescribable joy swelled in her heart. The days passed, and enrollment day for Southwest University finally arrived. Stella specifically requested leave from her commanding officer and drove to the university gates. She stood by the road, her eyes scanning intently, watching every single student that walked toward the entrance, afraid she might miss his silhouette. Just as she spotted a familiar-looking figure and was about to call out, a voice came from behind her. "Stella, are you standing here waiting just for me?" Stella turned around and saw Trent carrying his luggage, smiling brightly at her. She quickly looked around but saw he was alone and asked, "Why is it just you? Didn't Dylan come?" Trent's eyes flickered as he faked surprise. "You didn't know Dylan went to crown you with Serena." The words struck Stella like lightning. Her heart just dropped. It felt like falling into an abyss. Her mind went completely blank. How was that possible? Dylan's dream had always been Southwest. Why the sudden, impossible change? Then Stella's racing thoughts came to a halt as she recalled what Dylan had said. He'd told her before, "I want to go to Crown U to study linguistics. I want to become a teacher. It suits me better." Back then, she'd assumed it was nothing. Just an excuse because he was angry she was hanging out with Trent, so hurtful. She thought he'd said those distant words on purpose, but it turned out he meant them. Those were his real thoughts, and he had actually done it. He hid it from her. He hid it from everyone and went to Crown U. Stella simply couldn't accept this reality. She had to find him and demand an explanation. She turned and ran for her car. But Trent grabbed her arm. "Stella, I just got here. It's a strange place for me. Can you stay and help me out a bit?" Stella instantly threw his hand off. "Handle it yourself. I have an urgent matter. I have to go." Saying that, she got in her car and then sped off. Trent watched her go, his face twisting with clear resentment. He gritted his teeth, unwilling to accept what just happened. Absolutely not. But then a smirk crept onto his face. He turned and strolled leisurely into campus. He walked onto the Southwest U grounds. It didn't matter. Now it was just him and Stella. Dylan was far away in the capital. From this moment on, no one could get between them. No one could ever get between him and Stella again, after returning to the family quarters. Stella immediately called Phoenix Village, waiting for her parents to pick up the phone. Her mind was a total disaster. She didn't even know what answer she was looking for. She just knew that whatever the answer was, she wasn't going to be happy with it. The thing she wanted most in the world now seemed completely impossible. In her panic, her mom's voice came through. "Stella, is everything okay over there at the army base?" Stella nodded, though no one could see. "I'm fine, Mom. Don't worry, I called to ask if Dylan really went to Crown U." Her mom sighed. "Yeah, that kid snuck out early in the morning the day after you left. He just left us a letter." Her mom's voice was still laced with annoyance. Stella's heart twisted. She quickly pressed on. "Did he send a letter back after that, or call home, Mom?" Because she was on base. She couldn't just leave whenever she wanted to go and find him. It wasn't possible. Her only option was a phone call or a letter, but a letter needed an exact address. "Nothing yet, honey. Your dad and I are also waiting anxiously for any news from him. But there should be word in the next few days." Stella pleaded, "Mom, if Dylan leaves a phone number or an address, please tell me immediately." "Okay." Stella's voice was low, filled with a pleading tone. Her mom thought it sounded a bit odd. A little strange, but she didn't overthink it. "All right, I'll let you know as soon as I hear anything." After Stella hung up, an incredible exhaustion washed over her. To be honest, she couldn't figure out why Dylan was suddenly so determined to go to Crown U. Didn't he used to like her so much? Didn't he want to be with her? Forever, Serena's face suddenly flashed through her mind, making Stella's heart clench. A sharp pang of jealousy. Could Dylan really have fallen for Serena? No, Stella. Muttered the word aloud, startling herself, the feelings buried deep inside her heart. Feelings she hadn't even admitted to herself were now violently awakening. This left Stella completely flustered, not knowing what to do next, but she was starting to. Her feelings for him. Meanwhile, over at Crown University, he'd finally finished his enrollment. He was assigned to dorm 5002 in Building 5. Lugging his suitcase into the dorm room, he found it was completely empty. It was an old 6-person dorm with iron bunk beds and a large communal table in the middle for studying. He immediately picked a bottom bunk right near the door, then got busy cleaning, unpacking, and setting up his bed. It took him a full hour. He looked at the newly cleaned dorm room, a satisfied smile on his face. With his suitcase neatly organized, he decided to call home to let them know he was safe, so he went out to find the post office to make the call. The phone connected fast, and his mom's scolding voice came through the receiver. "Dylan, you're so brave, sneaking off to Crown U all by yourself." He had to pull the phone away from his ear for a moment before he dared put it back. "Mom, I told everyone I wanted to go to Crown U, but his mom immediately fired back. Even so, you shouldn't just leave without a word, sneaking off like that." Dylan stayed silent for a moment before saying softly, "I'm sorry, Mom, it's my fault." Hearing his apology, his mom's anger faded. She then asked him carefully about his new situation there at Crown U finally. She remembered something and asked, "Can you leave me a phone number or an address so we can contact you if anything happens?" He replied, "There's no private phone in the dorm right now, Mom. There's just one at the lobby guard's desk. I'll give you that number. My room address is Building 5. Room 5002, but a lot of people call that lobby phone, so it's not guaranteed I'll always answer." He also said, "Here is Serena's number. She gave me her private number, so I'll read it for you to write down." After he read the numbers for his mom to jot down, they chatted for a few more minutes before he finally hung up. When he got back to the dorm, a few new roommates had arrived. The moment Dylan walked in, a guy on the bed next to his greeted him first. "Hey, you're my bunkmate, right? I'm Harry." Dylan just smiled and nodded, returning the friendly gesture. Greeting, "Hi, I'm Dylan." The other guys introduced themselves one by one too. Soon, all the members of room 5002 had arrived. Harry was a super energetic and fun guy. A local from the capital city. He quickly became the group's center of attention, telling them all about the city's coolest spots. "There are so many cool spots. When we get free time, I'll take you guys around to see them. How about for the National Day holiday?" Even though the others weren't from the capital, their homes were pretty close by, so they all shook their heads about National Day. "We'll probably try to visit our families." Finally, Harry looked over at Dylan. "And you're probably going home too, right?" He hesitated, thinking about how he left on his own without saying a single word to Stella. He was positive she would try to find him for an explanation if he went back to his hometown for the holiday. It was almost certain he would have to face her. And right now, he really didn't want to see her at all. He shook his head. "I'm not going home for the holiday. You can show me around the capital." Then Harry laughed loudly and slapped Dylan's shoulder. "It's a deal then. There's a grand military parade this year. We'll go watch it together." Dylan simply nodded in agreement. And with that, the guys in the room began their new life at Crown. Tradition dictated that every freshman had to participate in the welcome party. This time, the rule was simple: one performance per dorm room. Harry was absent, but that meant the rest of them had to come up with a performance. The guys sat around the room brainstorming. Dylan thought for a moment, then asked, "Did any of them have special talents?" Turns out, one was in a performing arts troupe. "He knew how to dance." "Me too," another chimed in. Surprisingly, almost all of them did. In fact, Dylan was the only one in the room who'd never learned. The awkwardness was palpable. Just then, Harry ran in, out of breath. "I know what we can do." Everyone turned to look at him. We can do a social dance with a girls' dorm. That would definitely make them stand out. No one objected since they all knew the basics, and social dancing was a huge trend among students. Only Harry noticed Dylan's hesitation and offered some encouragement. It's fine if you don't know how to dance, I can teach you. With that, Dylan finally agreed. He came to crown you to improve himself and secure a bright future after all. So learning to dance wasn't a bad place to start. The group began hashing out the details. Suddenly, a question popped into Dylan's head. He looked at Harry and asked, "Which girl's dorm are you planning to partner with?" Harry slapped his own forehead. "Shoot. I totally forgot. If you guys aren't busy, let's go find them now." Everyone agreed, but just as they were about to leave, a shout echoed from the hallway. "Dylan, room 5002. Someone is looking for you." "There's a phone call for you in the lobby." Dylan was startled. Who would call him right now? He just called home 2 days ago. Could it be a family emergency? Anxiety flared up inside him instantly. He quickly told Harry, "I've got to run to the lobby. I'll catch up with you guys." Harry nodded. "Sure, we'll probably be at the practice room or the cafeteria." "Got it," he replied, then sprinted down toward the lobby. He grabbed the receiver from the desk and pressed it tightly to his ear. "Hello, Mom, Dad. Is something wrong at home?" But in response, a familiar voice came through. One he never expected to hear. He froze. He truly didn't expect Stella to find him. He couldn't believe she had found a way to contact him so quickly. After a long moment of silence, he finally spoke. "Hello, why are you calling me?" On the other end, hearing his voice seemed to make all of Stella's anxiety vanish. But thinking about what he did, her annoyance flared up again. Her voice lost its usual composure. "Dylan, you really have nothing to explain to me." A long, heavy silence stretched over the phone line. The quiet was making Stella feel incredibly uneasy. Just as she was about to speak again, his calm voice cut in. "Everything that needed to be said, I've already told you. I'm settled here. I'm at Crown you now. You don't need to worry or stress about me anymore. From now on, just focus on your life with Trent." Every word he spoke felt like a stab. "So you did all this because of him." She couldn't even finish her sentence before Dylan bluntly cut her off. "That doesn't matter anymore. Even though we are siblings, everyone has their own life to worry about. Right now, I've found my true goal. You don't need to be concerned anymore." Hearing his distant, indifferent words, Stella felt a wave of intense discomfort. She could clearly feel the coldness he was projecting right through the phone. He suddenly saw the deep care she had for him, even if she didn't know how to express it. Hearing only silence, he decided not to drag out the past any longer, so he spoke first. "I'm busy here, I have to go, goodbye." Without waiting for her to react, he decisively hung up. He stood there for a brief moment to calm his own chaotic thoughts, then left the lobby, heading in the direction Harry had mentioned. He found them all in the gym. As he walked up, they had already paired with some girls and started their first practice. Harry spotted him and enthusiastically waved him over. He quickly made his way over, greeting and introducing himself to the girls. Then Harry told him, "I know you're not great at this, so I specifically saved the best dance partner for you." He looked around, then pointed to a girl standing a short distance away. "She's coming over now, that's her." Dylan looked where he was pointing, seeing a girl in a white dress with her hair in a high ponytail. A slender figure walking toward them. He recognized her instantly. It was Serena. She smiled, greeting him. "So, it's you." Serena seemed just as surprised as he was. A random pairing, and they still ran into each other. Fate really seemed to be pushing them together. Standing beside them, Harry looked back and forth, curiously asking, "You two know each other?" Dylan smiled and simply explained, "We're from the same city." Harry nodded. "That's great. Since you two know each other, it won't be awkward practicing." He then turned to Serena. "I'll leave Dylan in your hands." Serena nodded. "Don't worry, leave it to me." As Harry moved away to practice, Dylan felt a bit shy. He started, "Serena, To be honest, I don't know how to dance at all, but Serena reassured him, it's fine. Don't pressure yourself too much, just let me guide you. He nodded and Serena took his hand, beginning to teach him the basics. Put your hand out and place it on mine like this. Then move to my rhythm. Holding his hand, Serena led him forward and backward smoothly. She then told him to raise his arm high, while she used the momentum to spin gracefully. But right then, his feet got tangled, causing him to lose complete control. He fell backward. He let out a yelp, thinking he was about to smash right into the floor, and squeezed his eyes shut in fear. But after a moment, the pain never came. Instead, Serena's voice echoed right next to his ear. Are you going to let me hold you like this forever? He snapped his eyes open, realizing Serena was holding him tightly with both hands, saving him from hitting the hard floor, looking right into her smiling eyes. His ears immediately turned bright red. Flustered, he quickly stood up, gently pushing her back. Thank you. Serena pulled her hands back, acting totally casual. It's nothing, let's continue. He nodded. This time he was much more careful, and luckily, he didn't trip again. He let out a huge sigh of relief. Seeing his expression, Serena couldn't help but laugh and tease him a little. You really don't need to be this tense. Dancing is supposed to be fun, just relax and enjoy it. He nodded. I know, I'll try. Just then, Harry came over to check on their progress. Seeing Dylan looking a bit awkward and unsure how to reply, Serena answered for him. Don't worry, we won't slow down the group's progress. Harry replied, Yeah, I was worried, but don't stress. Yourself out, Dylan, Harry said, looking at him with encouragement. Dylan just gave a weak smile, saying he understood. That's enough practice for today. Let's go eat, Harry suggested, calling the whole group to the cafeteria. While they were eating, Harry seemed to remember something and asked him out of the blue, Dylan, was that your family calling earlier? Dylan's chopsticks paused for a moment. Yeah, my sister called. You have a sister, how old is she? Harry, ever the gossip, kept bombarding him with questions. He felt a bit exhausted, not wanting to constantly talk about Stella. Rihanna, sitting across from him, noticed his discomfort and quickly jumped in to change the subject. Guys, the welcome party is just a few days away. Everyone needs to practice harder. Dylan, you can come find me anytime to practice. I'm in Building 1, Room 405. Seeing Serena step in like that, Harry stopped grilling him about Stella. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief and quickly agreed. Then after dinner, if you're free, could you guide me a bit more? Serena looked at him and nodded slightly. Sure. The others then scattered to do their own things, and he followed Serena to the gym to learn the dance. Time flew by, and soon it was the welcome party. Right before going on stage, he suddenly felt incredibly nervous. Serena stood right beside him and whispered, Don't be scared. If you're really that nervous, just don't look at the audience. Pretend we're in the practice room, like always. Dylan took a deep breath to calm himself. When the music started, he focused completely on Serena's rhythm. Their coordination was surprisingly smooth, totally in sync. Just as he started to relax, his eyes accidentally swept across the audience. Seeing that massive crowd, a wave of panic just hit him. His steps faltered, and he accidentally trod lightly on Serena's foot. Serena seemed to feel his panic. Without a second thought, she pulled him closer, placing his hand on her waist while her own arm gently wrapped around his neck. She skillfully adjusted to his movements and whispered, Keep going. We're almost there. They were so close he could clearly feel her warm breath. It sent his heart into a frenzy. His face turned as red as a tomato. It wasn't until the thunderous applause erupted that they finally stepped off the stage. Even then, the redness on his face still hadn't faded. Harry shot him a suspicious look and asked, Dylan, why is your face so red? Don't tell me it's because Serena got a little close to you. He felt completely embarrassed, just keeping his head down, saying nothing. Next to him, Serena just smiled a little, mysteriously. The welcome party was a huge, dazzling success. And thanks to all the dancing, his friendship with Serena grew much closer. After that, everyone got swept up in the daily grind of studying. Besides classes, Dylan spent most of his time buried in books at the library, where he frequently bumped into Serena. The two of them gradually became closer than ever before. Soon enough, rumors started swirling that they were dating. It got so bad that even Harry ran up to him, asking, "Hey Dylan, are you and the campus belle actually a thing?" Hearing that, Dylan was stunned. He quickly shook his head in denial. "No way, we just happened to run into each other at the library." To stop spreading rumors, but if even Harry thought that, other people definitely had it wrong. The next day, when he saw Serena at the library, he intentionally kept his distance, no longer sitting close to chat like he used to. During breaks, he stopped listening to her talk so passionately about her major, aerospace engineering. Of course, Serena noticed his strange behavior and immediately guessed the rumors were the cause. She looked at him and said quietly, "You really don't need to care what other people think. Even if we really were dating, it would be none of their business." He knew that was true, but the ghost of his past life still haunted him. It was because of vicious rumors that his previous life had been utterly destroyed. He really didn't want to get pulled into that vortex again. He said to Serena seriously, "From now on, it might be better if I study in my dorm." Serena was stunned for a moment. She furrowed her brows, about to protest, but stopped. She realized he seemed genuinely troubled by it. After that, they both minimized their contact on purpose. After some time, the gossip finally died down. Only then could he breathe a real sigh of relief and dive back into his studies. Time flew, and the National Day holiday was fast approaching. Most of his roommates had already gone back to their hometowns to be with their families. Only he and Harry remained. Harry brought up the grand military parade again. "Let's go watch it together." The parade wasn't held every year. The last one was 5 years ago. He had heard all about it, but had never actually witnessed it with his own eyes. Since he was in the capital, he had to see it. They immediately came up with a plan, but just as they walked out the school gate, by complete coincidence, they ran into Serena. She looked a bit surprised to see him. "You didn't go home either. Where are you two going?" "Not yet," he replied. Harry quickly jumped in. "We're going to Tiananmen Square to watch the military parade." "What a coincidence, me too. Let's all go together." She looked at him with hopeful eyes, as if afraid he would turn her down again. He gave a small nod. So he and Harry got into Serena's white sedan. When they arrived at Tiananmen, the whole place was already completely packed with people. He and Harry looked at each other, wondering how they could possibly squeeze in. "Follow me. If we stand out here, we won't see a thing," Serena said, leading them through the crowd to a totally different area. By the time they were at the very front row with a perfect view of the entire ceremony, he was absolutely stunned. Looking at Serena, he suddenly recalled something he'd heard at school. Her grandfather was supposedly a high-ranking military officer in the capital. No wonder she found such an amazing spot. Harry's jaw just dropped. "Serena, who in the world are you? How did you get such a prime spot?" Serena just smiled modestly. "It's nothing. Look, the parade is starting." Beside him, Harry stared at Serena with a whole new expression, a mix of awe and deep curiosity. Our hero felt a bit concerned, but there was no time to overthink it. His entire focus was now on the parade. Following a booming command that echoed across the square, a rhythmic and perfectly synchronized sound of majestic footsteps rang out. The Air Force dressed in pristine white uniforms, the Navy in deep blue, and the Army in vibrant green. Uniforms, row after row, glided past, their expressions filled with pride. A towering morale, he got swept up in the moment, feeling something indescribable. It was a wave of emotion, as another green-clad squad marched imposingly toward them. Dylan focused his gaze. Suddenly, his eyes locked onto the leading group, onto one particular tall figure. He was stunned, his eyes widened, staring at that familiar silhouette passing right before him. It was her, Stella. She had actually come. She was in the capital, marching in the military parade. In an instant, his mind became a total mess. His vision blurred slightly. Dylan, are you listening to me? A slight push snapped him out of it. He turned to Harry. What were you thinking about? I'm a bit thirsty, Harry said. I'm going to go buy some water. Okay, Dylan nodded, but when he looked up, he caught Serena's probing gaze. She had seen Stella, too, and she immediately realized something was wrong with him. His expression told a story. Back in Phoenix Village, she'd felt this sibling relationship of theirs was unusual. Serena frowned slightly, but she didn't ask him about it. After all, it was his private matter, but inside she felt deeply uneasy. After the three of them finished watching the parade, they all headed back toward school, after Harry and Dylan got out of the car and said their goodbyes. Dylan watched her drive away. Just as he was about to head back inside, he suddenly heard Harry call out, Dylan, I've decided I'm going to pursue Serena. Hearing that, Dylan almost tripped over his own feet. He just stared at Harry, completely shocked, unable to speak for a moment. What did you just say? Harry excitedly grabbed his arm. Dylan, I realized I think I like Serena. I'm planning to write her a love letter. You have to help me. What? You're the top student in our literature department. Help me write a love poem to give to Serena. Please come on. Harry dragged him quickly back towards the dorm before he could even protest. Dylan was forced into a chair at his desk, a pen shoved into his hand. A blank piece of paper was already laid out. He finally snapped back to reality. He immediately put the pen down and said, I can't do this, don't ask me. Seeing he genuinely meant it, Harry relented. Fine, I'll write it myself. But when I'm done, you have to review it for me. Okay, a reluctant nod. Just then, a knock sounded on the dorm room door. Dylan quickly got up to open it. It was a guy from the room next door. You're Dylan, right? Someone is looking for you at the school gate. You should go see. Dylan was stunned. He didn't know anyone in the capital who would come looking for him, and then a familiar silhouette in a military uniform flashed through his mind. Could it be her? Did she find him here this fast? He took a deep breath. He had to face this. Sooner or later, it was better to make things clear with her now, once and for all. That way they could go their separate ways in peace, he told Harry and walked out. To the school gate, from a distance, Stella saw him. He wore a white shirt, looking incredibly energetic. His entire body just radiated the breath of youth. It seemed he was no longer the boy from Phoenix Village, the one who always followed behind her calling her sis. That boy was gone. Stella's expression flickered. A suffocating tightness gripped her chest. Dylan looked at the slightly haggard woman before him and offered a faint smile. Hi, Stella, she opened her mouth. I have something I want to tell you. Let's find a place to sit. He nodded. He led her through campus to a quiet little park where they sat on a stone bench. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Stella's mind raced, remembering everything. Since the last time Dylan had hung up on her, her heart ached constantly. Like she was being pricked by needles, the pain just wouldn't leave her mind. She had no idea what to do. She wanted to find him in the capital, but she didn't know what to say. Then, Southwest University began military training. Stella was assigned as the chief commander, and during that whole time, Trent was constantly hovering around her. Back in Phoenix Village, she never thought there was anything wrong with it. After all, she agreed to the blind date. But when Trent acted entitled, treating her like his fiancée for the first time, she felt a deep sense of unease. It was also the very first time the idea of not wanting to marry Trent even entered her head. She decided to put some distance between them. When he noticed, he confronted her, his face full of blame. Stella, I feel like you're being distant. Aren't we engaged? Stella was quiet for a long time before finally saying, Trent, about our marriage. I think we need to reconsider. Why? Trent shouted, demanding to know. I know I'm sorry, but my decision is made. Stella wouldn't budge. She refused to argue because she was finally realizing who truly held her heart. Trent stared at her and suddenly asked, Is it because of Dylan? Stella was silent. He's your brother. It's impossible between you two. Besides, he's in the capital now. You think he's ever coming back for you? Hearing his tone, Stella knew he was hiding something. Are you hiding something? From me, do you know why he suddenly left for Crown you? Of course I know. You two can't be together. I was just helping you. And then Stella understood. She finally understood Dylan's sudden distance. It was all Trent's doing. Her gaze turned ice cold. What did you do? I just told him. What you said to me, just telling him the truth was enough to make him back off. He really gave up because you wanted to date me. He thought we were on the same side. Stella took a sharp breath, so that was it. That was why it all happened. The day after Dylan confessed, he'd apologized and told her not to worry. And then he left for Crown you. He had completely misunderstood everything. He had given up on their love, but now she finally knew her heart, maybe. It wasn't too late, everything from before. Dylan, it was my fault, I figured out. My true feelings, I like you too, but she couldn't finish her sentence. Dylan had shot to his feet. His eyes were filled with disbelief and something else. Pure mockery, the rest of the word Stella was about to say got stuck in her throat. She couldn't get another sound out. It took a long moment for her to try again. Everything I'm saying is from the bottom of my heart. I've thought it through. As long as we can be together. At that, Dylan took a deep breath. He tried to control his emotions, to suppress the chaos raging inside him. Then he cut her off cold. I've already let it go from now on. You are only my sister, and have you forgotten you and Trent are getting married? At the end of the year, he added. Stella rushed to explain, I made things clear. I'll explain everything to our parents. You don't have to carry any burdens. But looking at Stella making these promises in front of him for the first time. For once, he started doubting his own judgment. Stella acted without ever thinking about the consequences. It seemed she only ever thought about herself, thinking he didn't like it. She had mercilessly rejected him, not even saving him any face. She even dated Trent right in front of him. But now that he had given up on her, she suddenly felt she liked him, and then dumped Trent without hesitation. It was just like how because of Trent, she had abandoned him before. Suddenly his heart hardened like stone. He looked at Stella, making every single word crystal clear. Let me repeat this one last time. Right now, I have absolutely no feelings for you other than sisterly affection. As for you and Trent, I don't care. I have things to do. I'm leaving. Saying that, he had no desire to argue with Stella anymore. He turned and walked away. He'd barely taken a step when Stella grabbed him. I know you're just saying that because you're mad. I was the one who wronged you. From now on, I will. Definitely make it up to you twice over. He couldn't help but roll his eyes. He seriously doubted if Stella even understood human language. He didn't want to say another word. He brushed her hand off and kept walking, but in Stella's mind, she thought he was still just mad. That he was just throwing a tantrum. She smiled indulgently and followed closely behind him. I applied to study at the capital military region for half a year. Whenever I'm free, I'll come visit. From now on, we can see each other often. This was becoming incredibly annoying. He really couldn't understand what Stella was thinking. When he liked her, she tried 1,000 different ways to reject him, but when he finally let go, she comes chasing after him. The sudden change was exhausting, and he didn't know how to deal with it. Reaching the campus gate, he told Stella, you should go back. I have to go inside. Without waiting for her to react, he turned to walk into the school. But after just a few steps, a strong force suddenly yanked him back. He was starting to lose his patience. Looking back, he saw Trent's face right there behind him. He was slightly surprised. Before he could even speak, Trent landed a heavy punch right across his face. Bam, Dylan, you piece of trash. Let the professors see how despicable you are, constantly. Stalking someone else's fiancée, he intentionally screamed at the top of his lungs. The students and professors around heard him loud and clear. Everyone stopped in their tracks, turning their eyes toward them. His own eyes went bloodshot. The suffocating feeling of being falsely accused from his past life hit him all over again. He tried to calm down and defend himself. Trent, stop spitting lies. I can report you to the school administration for this. Don't push it or you'll lose your student status. Trent just put on an arrogant face and started wailing pathetically. It's obvious you seduced my fiancée and now you're playing the victim and threatening me to keep quiet. Stella rushed over, trying to stop him. If looks could kill, Trent would have died 1,000 times over. At this moment, she deeply regretted her past blindness. Why did she ever think he was a good person? Stella stood in front of him to protect him. She whispered, "Why don't you leave first? Let me handle things here." He shook his head. If he left now, this horrible reputation would follow him forever. He would never be able to wash it clean. Seeing Stella protect him, Trent became even more. Trent was consumed by a raw, insane jealousy. His words became unhinged. I am her fiancé, and she's defending him. The crowd erupted in whispers, their fingers pointing at Dylan and Stella. His face went pale with rage. He absolutely couldn't let Trent keep talking. Dylan had fought too hard for this new life. He refused to let him tear it down again, but before he could act, a familiar voice cut through the chaos right next to his ear. Look closely, that's her fiancé's younger brother, not some imaginary rival. Dylan glanced over. Serena was approaching, and she stood right next to him, greeting Stella. You're here too. Then her eyes fell on the fresh wound on Dylan's face. When she touched the red mark, a flash of anger ignited deep within her eyes. Who beat Dylan up like this? Don't you know how to fight back? Heartbroken, she reached out her hand to touch his face. Stella frowned at the sight, instinctively reaching out to stop her. Serena took that moment to lean into Stella's ear, whispering a warning, get him out of here. Right now, or do you want to see Dylan expelled from Crown U? Stella was stunned. After one last look at him, she dragged the still dazed Trent into a jeep and sped away. Once they left, Serena loudly addressed the onlookers. Please disperse, that man is the fiancé of Dylan's sister. She explained that he has some mental issues and Dylan's close with his sister. So the guy treats him like an imaginary rival. After her explanation, she pulled him deeper into the campus. Dylan's mind was blank. It wasn't until he felt a slight sting on his cheek that he snapped out of it, replaying what just happened. He looked at the girl beside him and spoke, "Thank you for helping me, do you have any medicine? The wound on my face needs to be treated." Serena's brows were still knitted in anger. Dylan nodded, and Serena didn't say another word. The two of them just walked toward Dorm 5. He noticed Serena seemed furious. He asked timidly, "Are you mad?" Serena just stared at him with frustration. "Are you some kind of punching bag for people? Someone hits you and you just don't fight back, and as for that precious sister of yours, your judgment of character is just terrible. She was standing right there beside you and couldn't even protect you. She was right there and did absolutely nothing." The more Serena spoke, the angrier she became. Her eyes looked like they could spit fire. Dylan was a bit surprised. How do you know about my situation with her? He knew Serena understood exactly what he meant. But her knowing about it was completely unexpected. She shot back, annoyed. Back in Phoenix Valley, I saw how you treated her. It was different. That's in the past. From now on, she's only my sister. He quickly reaffirmed his stance. Serena froze. Her intense stare made him feel a little nervous deep down. Just as he was about to say something, Serena suddenly stepped in closer. Her voice held a note of hope. So, is that really over then? Do you want to try getting to know me? He stood there, completely frozen, just looking at her. They stared deeply into each other's eyes. Neither one of them looked away until a trembling voice broke the silence. What are you two doing? Harry, who had been in his room writing a love letter, heard a dorm mate say Dylan was in trouble at the gate. He immediately threw his pen down and ran out. But as he reached the lobby, he saw Dylan and Serena standing close, gazing at each other. Other romantically, like they were a couple, Harry's heart sank into an abyss. His voice shattered the entire atmosphere between them. Dylan instantly snapped out of it, pulling back from Serena and looking right at Harry. He remembered what Harry said earlier and quickly tried to explain, "Things aren't what you think." But before he could finish, Serena cut him off. "Why do you have to explain to him?" Harry's face went deathly pale as he walked closer, staring intently at Serena. "Because he knows I like you and I want to date you." Dylan felt Serena's glare turn sharp as needles, making him afraid to even look up at her. While he was awkwardly searching for an excuse, another student walked up. "Dylan, the professor needs to see you in the office for a minute." Dylan froze, knowing immediately it was because of the commotion at the front gate. Even though Serena had skillfully shut down the rumor, a top university like this still needed to verify things. He nodded. "I'll go right now. I'll go with you." Serena spoke up instantly. Harry, watching from the side with heavy eyes, also opened his mouth. "I'll go too," so the three of them headed to the administration office. Dylan went in alone while Serena and Harry waited outside. Harry looked at the girl next to him and asked bluntly, "Do you like Dylan?" Serena turned to face him, but stayed completely silent. "I'll take that as a yes, but I can tell Dylan doesn't feel that way about you," Harry added, twisting the knife. Serena just frowned. "I know, but not having feelings now doesn't mean he won't in the future. I believe in myself." Harry fell silent after that, his expression turning incredibly complicated. Dylan opened the door and walked out, immediately sensing the tension in the air. "What's wrong?" both of them answered at the same time. "Nothing," only then did he feel a little relief. "Is everything okay?" Serena asked. He nodded with a relaxed smile. "Yeah, the professor just asked about the situation. I've explained everything clearly." He thought for a second and then added, "And I'm going to write a complaint letter to Southwest University. I won't let Trent get away with slander." "Good," Serena said, showing her support. Then Dylan turned to Harry, who was deep in thought. "What's wrong with you? We can go now." "Let's go," Harry replied, snapping back to reality. Back at the dorm, Dylan saw Harry's dazed look and figured he was still thinking about what happened earlier with Serena, so he quickly tried to explain. "Harry, what happened between me and Serena wasn't like that." But before he finished, Harry interrupted him. "Dylan, I'm sorry for lying to you." He was a little confused. The whole reason he claimed he wanted to pursue Serena wasn't because he liked her. It was all about her family background. Harry looked at Dylan, completely flustered and uneasy. Dylan pulled a chair to sit next to him, his voice gentle. "Just tell me slowly." From Harry's own words, Dylan finally learned the truth. Harry's father was a general in the Capitol military. From a young age, he was crushed under his father's thumb. His family always insisted that he could only marry daughters of other high-ranking officials. Even getting into this university took a massive fight just to earn a little freedom. So when he discovered Serena had a similar family background, he suddenly made his claim. He never expected that the carefree-looking Harry harbored such deep thoughts. Who knew he carried so many heavy burdens? Dylan knew he had to say something. "Look, it's a new era. People have the right to choose who they marry now. If he didn't want it, he should fight his family over it. His life was his own. He had to be the master of it and never let anyone else dictate his future." This was a brutal lesson Dylan had learned from his past life, a truth he only just understood. Just then, Harry looked at him and said, "No wonder Serena likes you." "That's exactly what she told me." Dylan was floored. He went to ask how, but the words caught in his throat. Harry suddenly reached forward, pulling him into a hug. His voice cracked with emotion. "Dylan, thank you. I know what to do now." Dylan returned the gesture, patting his friend's back. After a moment, Harry pulled away. He'd regained his composure. His eyes were a little red, but his smile was back. Dylan let out a breath of relief, but then Harry asked him a question. "Dylan, do you really not like Serena?" Dylan hadn't even thought about it, right now. He just wanted to pour everything he had into his studies. He loved Stella for years. And that story ended in absolute tragedy. Liking someone just wasn't important anymore. His priority was enriching his mind, gaining experience, and building his own future. He would carve out a bright path for himself during the final days of the holiday. Harry took him sightseeing all over the capital, and most of the time, Serena always tagged along. As for Stella and Trent, they were nowhere to be found. Dylan had no clue how Stella dealt with Trent, but it really wasn't any of his business anymore. Once the holiday was over, he returned to his old life, burying himself in the library every single day, and this time, Serena joined him. But he didn't avoid her like before. Denying the school gate incident would only stir up more gossip. Even so, he knew they needed to clear the air. He had to make things clear with Serena, so he found the right moment and spoke. Serena, our situation is making people misunderstand, if you're finding it annoying. He frowned, still unsure how to handle it all. The entire situation felt stuck. He couldn't think of a perfect solution. Serena saw his conflicted expression and sighed. That day, I was the one who spoke up. I was just afraid you'd find it annoying. But could you give me a chance to stand by your side? Dylan was moved. He could see the genuine affection in her eyes, that sincerity. Right now he probably couldn't return it, but thank you, she nodded. I understand, I'll keep trying. I'm sure you'll change your mind eventually, Serena affirmed with total confidence. He didn't know what to say to that, so he simply stayed silent, with everything out in the open. Being together felt much more relaxed. Time just flew by. Lost in their intense studies, a half-month later, he was walking to the library. He was holding a book when a dorm mate rushed over. Dylan, you got a call. There's a woman in a military uniform at the lobby looking for you. Dylan nodded and thanked him. He immediately made his way to the school gate, assuming it was probably Stella. He thought she was here to tell him Trent's final fate, but at the gate, it wasn't Stella, it was a female soldier he'd never seen. He paused, then walked up. I'm Dylan, you were looking for me. The stranger simply nodded. I was ordered by Captain Stella to bring you to see her. Dylan was immediately suspicious. Why didn't she come? She's currently in the hospital. He was stunned. What happened to her? What happened to her? Why is she in the hospital? May insists that Stella has to tell him herself. She asks if he has time right now. He thinks about it. His afternoon is free. I'll go with you to the hospital. He gets into the jeep parked by the road. They head to the hospital. After a 40-minute drive, Dylan pushes open the door. He steps into the patient room and sees Stella lying on the bed, apparently resting. Her eyes are closed, but at the sound they flutter open, and she sees him. A flash of pure joy lights up her eyes as she quickly tries to sit up. But the movement aggravates a wound on her back, making her brows furrow in pain. Dylan quickly steps forward to support her, getting a closer look at the injury. On her back, it looks like she was whipped. Stella suddenly grabs his hand tightly. She refuses to let him go. From now on, no one can stop us from being together. Can you give me another chance? He freezes, just as he's about to speak. Stella continues, I canceled the engagement with Trent. I also made everything clear to my parents. They won't oppose us anymore. Dylan's eyes widen. He stares at Stella, stunned. It takes him a long moment to utter, you told our parents. Stella just grips his hand tighter. Please hold my hand, I know. You still resent me for rejecting you. That's why I took all the consequences. I just hope you can forgive me, Dylan. I really do like you. So that wound really was from a beating. The thought makes him feel dizzy. It was only a short while ago she ruthlessly rejected him, telling him she could only ever be his sister in this lifetime, yet now she's done this. She took the matter to their parents, but the thing is, he had already let her go. He felt absolutely nothing, no gratitude for what she'd done. He was only confused. He had no idea how to face this, and worse, an infinite sadness began to rise. It surged from deep within his heart. In his past life, he was just like Stella. He fought fiercely in front of his parents, but the outcome that waited for him. He was kicked out of the house, his entire life completely ruined. yet when it's Stella's turn, they just let it go and even gave their blessing, and neither of them ever bothered to ask his opinion. In that moment, all he felt was a bone-chilling cold. Stella sees his silence. The joy in her heart begins to fade, replaced by anxiety. She stares at him, unblinking. "Are you not happy?" she asks, her voice trembling. She was about to say more, but he cuts her off, hiding all emotion deep within him. With an indifferent voice, he simply asks, "What exactly did you tell them?" They hadn't even bothered to give him a single phone call. Stella begins her story. She recounts everything. It turns out that day, Stella dragged Trent away from the gate. She took him straight from the campus gate right back to Southwest University. During that time, Dylan's complaint letter had also reached the school's administration. After a full investigation, Trent was officially expelled from Southwest University. He was sent back to Phoenix Village for labor. His parents even went to cause a scene. They stormed the Smith family house, but Stella returned just in time and exposed it all. She laid out the entire truth. Trent completely broke down, pointing right at Stella. He screamed at her, "Stella, you dare say you don't have a shred of selfishness? Your actions are just a cover-up. You and Dylan." "Shut up," Stella snapped back. "You know best who is to blame for how your situation ended up," she said angrily. She interrupted him, adding, "Whatever happens between me and Dylan is our business. This is the Smith family's business. It has nothing to do with you. And if you dare say a word, I'll happily admit everything. I could even spill the details about you and that senior classmate of yours." Seeing Stella's cold warning glare, Trent instantly felt a pang of guilt. He never dreamed she knew about that. Back at Southwest U, a senior really did fall for him because he hadn't heard back from Stella. For a long time, he used that senior for comfort. Even the money for his train ticket to the capital was from her. In the end, Trent didn't dare utter another word. Not long after, he was shipped off to a labor camp in Phoenix Villa. After a few days of settling matters at her grandmother's and dealing with Trent, Stella went home to face her parents. She laid her cards on the table, kneeling directly on the hard floor. Her father was shocked. "Stella, what are you doing? I have to tell you something. You might find it hard to accept, but these are my true feelings." Her parents exchanged a suspicious glance. "What is it? Just say it. I'm sorry, I've betrayed your trust." "My feelings for Dylan aren't just familial. I love him." That sentence was a bomb, exploding in the dead of night. The fallout was just as expected. Stella was whipped, then forced to kneel for a full day and night without rest. But in the end, her parents said nothing more, only telling her to finally stand up. Stella knew that even if they didn't approve, they would no longer fiercely fight against it. After Dylan heard Stella's story, he didn't know what to feel. She had sacrificed so much, but he couldn't look back. He looked straight at her. "Let me tell you a story." A flash of confusion crossed Stella's face, but mostly it was pure anxiety. At first, she thought that once she removed Trent and won over their parents' disapproval, Dylan would have no more mental blocks and would happily return to her. Yet, from the very beginning to the end, not a single smile appeared on his face. This made Stella's heart clench. The fear inside her grew with every single panicked breath. He ignored Stella's feelings and just continued. He told her everything, his entire past life. From his hopeful confession to the lonely way he died in a foreign country. After he finished, he closed his eyes, holding back a storm of emotions. Then he looked at Stella. His eyes were calm, almost hollow. "Stella, I'm sorry. I've truly let you go. We are just siblings now." Stella's heart felt like it was smashed by a sledgehammer, leaving a gaping hole. Her lips trembled. "Dylan, I was so foolish before. I didn't understand my own heart. I'll change. Can we start over? Please?" His expression was a mix of sadness and bitter irony. If only she could have said those words to him in his past life, would it all have ended so miserably? In that life, she didn't love him, but now she wants him. Is this some kind of sick human trait? You always want what you can't have. You crave it like crazy, but if that was really it, he felt it wasn't worth it for him. That past life, he would never look back. He was done caring about it. He had decided to move on. There was no reason to be chained to the past. Clearing his thoughts, he told Stella, "You should rest. I'll visit you later." With that, he turned to leave, but Stella grabbed his hand. "Dylan, because of some story, you're really going to abandon me." He stopped. His voice held a trace of sorrow. He explained this was no story, it was his own. A truly bloody experience. With that, he brushed her hand away and walked right out. He left the hospital room without a single glance back. Stella just stared after him. The ache in her heart was indescribable. It was over, so why did it feel like this? Why did she feel like she was losing him for good? She refused to just give up. She loved him too much. How could she possibly let go so easily? She pushed the story aside. Stella's heart was a knot of anxiety, but she didn't believe in superstitions. Her first priority was clear. She needed to heal her wounds, and she knew his heart. He had a soft heart. If she was just completely devoted to him, she was sure she could. Make him change his mind. After leaving the hospital, he didn't head back to school. Instead, he found a public pay phone to make a call home. This time, it was his dad. His father picked up, but both ends of the line were silent. Finally, he spoke first. "Dad, are you and Mom doing well?" A moment later, his dad's hoarse voice replied. "Your mom is a bit tired, but it's nothing serious. Don't you worry too much." His heart instantly clenched. He knew it. He understood. How could his parents possibly accept something like this? He just didn't get why they had compromised so quickly. But regardless, he had to make his intentions perfectly clear to them. "Dad, I'm sorry about everything involving me," but before he could even finish his sentence, his dad cut him off. "Your mom and I won't interfere anymore. From now on, even if you two don't come home, it's fine. We can take care of ourselves." Hearing his dad's exhausted voice, he couldn't stop himself. "Dad, why didn't you and Mom oppose it?" This time, his dad was silent for a long moment before answering. "That day was the first time I saw Stella so determined. That look in her eyes reminded me of her late father. I felt a little ashamed, so that was it." "Dad, listen to me," he urged. "I've told you before. From now on, I will only treat her as my older sister. That's the honest truth, and it's one of the biggest reasons I was so determined to get into crown you." When he finished, the line went dead, a suffocating, heavy silence. "Tell me clearly," his dad's voice began to sharpen. "What exactly are you and Stella thinking?" He shot back. "I made it very clear to her. We will only ever be family. I've made my choice, and it's not changing. Dad, you and Mom just need to focus on taking good care of yourselves. This is a private matter between us. We'll handle it. I can't come home for National Day, but I promise you we will all come back together for the Lunar New Year." In the end, his dad didn't say anything more to him. He just gave a short reply and hung up. After the call, his thoughts returned to Stella. He just hoped she wouldn't do anything too extreme, but no matter what, he couldn't let his parents worry about him anymore. By the time he returned to school, it was getting dark. As he passed through the dorm lobby, he saw Serena pacing back and forth frantically. She looked incredibly anxious. He walked toward her, but before he could even speak a word, she cut him off, her voice a mix of anger and worry. "Where have you been? Do you have any idea how worried I've been all afternoon?" "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "I had to go to the hospital for an emergency." He obediently apologized and explained. "The hospital? What's wrong? Are you sick?" Serena instantly scanned him from head to toe. He simply shook his head. "No, it's my sister." Serena paused, taking that in for a moment. "She hasn't gone back yet. She's still in the capital." He nodded. "She applied to study at the military region here. She'll probably be around for about half a year." Hearing that, Serena's expression just crumbled. She went completely silent, not uttering a word. He could feel her disappointment, but didn't know how to respond at all. After a moment's thought, he offered a small compromise. "From now on, if I go anywhere, I'll let you know first." Serena's eyes instantly lit up. "Deal." "Okay, I'm heading up now. Tomorrow afternoon, I've got no classes. I'll go to the library," he finished. Serena immediately jumped in after him. I only have one class then too. I'll come find you, she said, nodding. She stood there watching him go upstairs, her mood now visibly much brighter. Even though he hadn't promised a thing, Serena could feel something had changed. Things with Stella were broken. Serena was sure she was going to win. Returning to his dorm, everyone was there, but the neighboring bed was still empty. He asked his roommates where Harry was. They said he hadn't come back. Apparently, Harry went straight home after his classes. He nodded, figuring something was up. Not dwelling on it, he simply sat down at his desk and opened up a book. It was getting late, and he just wanted to wash up and go to sleep. Meanwhile, over at the military hospital, someone else was having a bad night. Stella was asleep, but it wasn't peaceful. She was trapped in a nightmare. She dreamed of him confessing his heart, but she flatly rejected him. Then she left for the army base. In the dream, he failed his exams. He couldn't get into any university, and his confession, everyone in town knew. His mom fell ill from the shame. Stella raced back, but was too late. By the time she came back, he'd already been kicked out, completely disappeared. His own mom, in a fit of rage, had cast her only son out. Stella was certain he'd be back in a few days, but days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into years, and she never saw him again. Eventually, his mother passed on. She passed away full of resentment, and Stella, she drowned in absolute remorse. She finally understood her feelings, but the boy she'd raised like a little brother was gone for good. Stella's heart just shattered. Missing a piece forever, a void that could never, ever be filled. That desolate terror jolted Stella from her sleep. She gasped for air. Events from the nightmare flashed in her mind. It felt so incredibly real. As if she'd lived it, then Stella remembered the story he told her. It matched her dream down to every detail. What if it had really happened? His words echoed in her mind. Stella's eyes widened in sudden realization. So that's why he'd lived that bitter life. So after confessing this time, he had immediately apologized to her. He begged her to forget the whole thing. He was dead set on getting into Crown, completely giving up on being near her. Giving up on Southwest, the school closest to her. The more she thought, the more her head throbbed with an agonizing pain. She furrowed her brow tightly. Fragments of memories from another lifetime began to flood her mind. The flood lasted for half an hour. By the time it finally stopped, the truth was clear. The memories were now perfectly clear. Dylan had really lived through all that pain. And the clearer those memories became, the more her own heart ached. No wonder he'd kept such a distance from her since the entrance exams. He wasn't angry at her coldness. It was like he completely understood it. She had actively rejected him. In his past life, he died in a foreign land, and it was all because of her. Now that she understood the truth, she knew they had no future. Absolutely no possibilities left. The thought sliced through Delaz's heart like 1,000 knives. Staring at the moonlight, Stella found herself unable to close her eyes. On the other side of town, he was completely oblivious, sleeping soundly. The next day, he went to class with his roommate, but Harry still hadn't shown up. A flash of worry crossed his eyes. Did something truly serious happen to Harry? The guy had never skipped a single class since they enrolled, but now no sign of him. By noon, there was still no trace of Harry. He even went back to the dorm to check. But he wasn't there either. Suddenly, a terrible premonition surged in his heart. Sitting in the library reading, his mind was wandering a million miles away. Suddenly, Serena's voice cut through the silence. Seeing him like this, she whispered, "What are you thinking about? You haven't turned that page in ages." He looked over at Serena and said softly, "You're here. I haven't seen Harry all day." He didn't go to class either. Worry was written all over his face. She tried to comfort him. "Don't worry, he's not a kid." But before she could finish, two girls nearby were whispering. That guy from earlier was so pitiful. He worked so hard just to get into Crown, but his dad forced him to drop out today. And the other agreed, who says studying is useless. His dad thinks marrying early is true stability. That family is destroying his future. I think he's a literature student named Harry or something." Hearing that, he shot up instantly, startling the two girls. He demanded, "Where is the person you were just talking about? Probably at the faculty office." That's all he needed. He sprinted straight out as Serena called after him. He hadn't even packed his books. She quickly grabbed them and chased after him. The library was a good distance from the faculty office, and the path led past the main gate. As he ran to the gate, Serena pulled him back from behind.